Thumb injury. Okay, anyway, this little spanker is a Squier Mini Strat, and I've had 3 of these, and this is for a young student of mine, and he doesn't know he's getting it yet, so we're going to keep it kind of quiet down here. But I thought I would review this since I got this one in. Like I said, this is the 3rd one I think I've had. My kids never really took to it, and I sold them. I should have just kept them, put them in the closet and waited for someone else to come along. But you know how it is. You got something you're not using, you sell it. So they're really good, especially for the money. The pickups are just unbelievably hot, probably a little too hot. First thing I did on getting the guitar in was to adjust the pickup height because they had them ran way up right against the strings. So I dropped the pickups down, you can see here, almost flush to the pick guard, and a little bit more. And what I do is fret it at the last fret and measure so that they're a consistent distance. They're just about 4 millimeters from the bottom of the string to the top of the pickup hole. So you hold this down right here and you measure 4 millimeters. And that gives you a pretty good starting point. You can adjust it from there. I'm running straight to a 1957 Tweed Champ. No effects, nothing like that, just straight to the amp. The amp's on about 4. The guitar's on 10, as it ought to be. It should be 11, But it's a spanky little thing. So, the setup. Start at the nut. The nut is way too tight when you first get these things. And that's typical of a cheap, quickly set up instrument. The nut spacing here was way too far, and you can see where I have filled in the original slots with super glue and dust and recut so as to make the spacing a little closer to the fret edge, because man, they were way in there and you were just wasting a lot of fingerboard territory. Even for small fingers, you need to have some room between the strings. So I respaced the nut. And I use equal distance between the strings rather than equal center to center because it's just a roomier feel to me. So I did that. Of course, when I was doing that, I set the nut slots correctly. They're too high from the factory. So that'll make a big difference on your playability if you adjust the nut slots to get their fret height. And the way you do that is you just push the string down between the 2nd and the 3rd fret, and it ought to just absolutely clear the 1st fret. And people say, some people say, well, it depends on the player's style, blah, blah, blah. But no, not really. I get through my reasons for this. The only reason you want to hire it if you play slide or something. But if you're playing with your fingers, set it up that way, and you'll be real close. Well, it had too much neck bow. I like flat necks, but this neck was actually back bowed. So it was like this, this way. And that was causing it to fret out up here. Plus, it meant that the saddles had to be really super high, which is something I don't really like to do for a variety of reasons. First of all, I just don't like to have anything at its maximum adjustment. I like to have things in the middle of the adjustment range. So I gave it a little bit of neck relief, and by that I mean just a tiny, tiny bit. So if you hold it down here at the 1st fret, and hold it down here at the 13th fret, because the truss rod doesn't do anything right here. Hold it at the 13th fret, and I have just a tiny bit right here at the 6th fret. You can hear that tapping. It is a sheet of paper, okay? That's how much. But when I got it, it was actually backbowed. After setting the relief, setting the nut, then I came down here and adjusted the saddles. I got the action where I wanted it, which in this guitar is about 70 thousandths of an inch from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string. And that's pretty low for a short scale guitar like this, but it makes it easy for small fingers. And we're not really horribly concerned about buzzes at this point. All we're concerned about really is making the guitar easy for weak, small fingers to play. And we'll worry about buzzes later. A little bit of fret slap isn't going to hurt anything. So, okay. Did that, adjusted the saddle, set the intonation. Now, one criticism of these guitars is that you can't set the intonation. And that's not true, but you do have to set the saddles all the way forward. And I mean, that little E is almost on the last couple of threads. So this is where I have these set. And of course I used a tuner, to get this. This isn't just for looks, but I'm just showing this to you so that you can see how far forward those saddles are in order to get the intonation correct. It'll make it. So don't be afraid to move it up there. So the way I check the intonation is I use a tuner. I've got a strobe tuner, strobe flip, and I don't use a harmonic to check, because a harmonic can throw you off a little bit. You can use a harmonic after you're done, but I prefer to play the open string and then fretted and compare those two notes. A harmonic can be a little off sometimes, but let's just take a look at it. Well, the reason it'll be off is if your strings have little dents in them or any kind of wear, the harmonic won't ring true. If you have a good set of strings and all that sort of thing, yeah, the harmonic will work just fine. But I just prefer to actually fret the note and see what the tuner says about the intonation of that note. So here's what the harmonic versus the 12th fret sounds like. Okay? When I got the guitar, the saddles were back, and so the intonation was flat. By the time you got up here in the 12th fret, you're 3 to 5 cycles flat. But I got the intonation good, and we are ready to rock and roll. These guitars, of course, have a fixed bridge. They don't have a whammy bar like a real Strat would have. And that's just to keep the cost down and the routing, and because the body's not as thick. I don't have a problem with that. There's nothing wrong with the hardtail Strat. You've also got just a volume and tone in order to save room. You don't have 3 of them. That's fine too. In fact, a lot of times I set my Strats up for a master tone. Master volume, master tone, and I use the third as a blend, or I even just leave it blank, I just, as a Telecaster guy, I get really used to that. Okay? Here's what the pickups sound like.